So in order for our backend to process this payment, we are going to send an HTTP post request, and then our backend that we are going to write will get this post request and get the information, the parameters we pass through this post request, which will be our token, our amount, the currency. These three are required parts. So without any of these, we cannot charge the client without knowing what currency, what amount, and what card to charge. Also, there are some optional things that you can pass with your charge. So if we go to stripe.com docs API charges and then create. So this is the area when you get to the Stripe API, and under charges you can see what charge we can create. And first of all, it has an option to create charge in all this. This is our backend first of all, and then you can see what other options our charge can have. So we have amount required, currency required, and then we have all other things like description, metadata, on behalf of, recipient email, and there's a long list of other things you can use which are optional, they are not required. And this is underneath is the response that our backend will receive for every charge we create. So you can see what we are being provided with if you want to check this out. We are going to jump into the code and we are going to grab our URL. So whenever we are sending something to our backend, so we have our base URL that we have put it here, which is our localhost currently, and then we have to add some kind of extension to it so that we know whenever we want to, for example, when we are creating a charge, we will pass charge to it, or if you want to create a customer, you will pass customer to it, etc. So we say let a URL is equals, and then I'm going to access self.base URL, and we're going to say appending component, path component, and we're going to append a string here, and this is going to be charge. You can put whatever you want here, just make sure that this is going to be exactly the same keyword that we are going to use in our backend, and something meaningful, of course. Then we can say let parameters, it's short for params, and here we are going to write what we want to pass to our backend. So it's going to be a string and any, and this is going to be equals to, first we want to pass our Stripe token, and the value is going to be our token, so we grab it from here, and we want to get the token ID, comma, and then I want to pass the amount, and this is going to be our amount that we are passing. We want to charge this to the client. Then I want to say description, because this is what I want to pass to my backend, and let's put here constants, default description, comma, and the currency. So we say currency is equals to constants, and just we say default currency here. So these are the 4 things that we want to pass, apart from default description. The other 3 are required. So if you don't want to pass default description, you don't have to, but the rest you have to pass. And then once we have our parameters, we access our Alamo Fire, and I'm going to create a request, and the request is going to be, it doesn't autocomplete, let's see why. Alamo Fire request, okay, let's just type it, URL, we're passing our URL, and then we are passing our parameters, sorry, it should be the method first, and this is going to be .post, and then we will pass our parameters, and this is going to be our params. And once we do this, we're going to say .validate, and we're going to validate with our status code, and status code is going to be 200 to 300. So this is what our status will be receiving back from our backend. So whenever it's return status 200, this was successful, like status 400 or 500, there was some kind of fault. This is all in Stripe documentation if you want to check it out. Then we want to get the response back from our Alamo Fire. So we say .response data, and we want to create one with a completion handler. Just hit on completion handler and call this response. Okay, so we have our response variable once our post call is done with our Alamo Fire. And then we want to check what was the response that we received. Either it was successful or there was some kind of fault and we couldn't process our payment. So we are going to use switch statement here on our response and result. And we say case dot success, and this data we're not going to use. And we are not going to pass any variable. So if it was successful, what I want to do is say print and say payment successful. And also I want to call my completion handler and pass nil as my error because we had no errors. Then we have to have another case and we say failure, and here will be we have an error. So this is what we are getting, and let's put colon here. And if we had an error, what I want to do is print, let's say error processing the payment, and let's pass our error localized description. And also I want to call my completion and pass my error here so that I can show it to my user. Okay, that's it. This is all we have for our function and actually for our class as well. We have only one function that will process our payment once we provide a token and amount that we want to do. And this will do the post with a description to our backend and get the response back.